Party headquarters. Joining us to help us understand more about what to expect today, senior political editor Francis Gachuri. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Freddie.
So what's the biggest expectation today? MPs have been talking a lot in public rallies and they sound as if they're unanimous in that decision. Most of them say no. Looking at the papers this morning, we're seeing lists. We don't know how accurate those lists are, but what is the expectation today?
Various things. But first things first, when members of parliament discuss this issue, it's also important to let our viewers know exactly what is happening. On one hand, the president was given the Finance Bill 2018 for assent through the normal lawmaking procedures. And he has a right to decline to assent to the bill, returning to the National Assembly with a memorandum detailing reasons for declining to assent to the bill. And that is exactly what has happened. The bill was delivered to him, and he immediately declined to assent to it. And he has returned it back to the National Assembly so that members of parliament can deliberate on the memorandum that he has given them, detailing reasons why he did not assent to the bill. There are various proposals to make cuts on various votes and provisions that had been made in the financial year 2018-2019 in the budget that was read in June. Remember, budget making process is a year-long exercise. Last week you saw the Minister in charge of National Treasury launching the budget making process for 2019-2020 because it's a year-long process, unlike what we used to see in previous years. But back to where we are today. The two sittings that are being held at State House Nairobi and at the Orange headquarters, basically it's good to give members of various political parties an opportunity to exercise their minds on the proposals that have been made by the president and take a decision. Remember, to disagree with the president on any of the issues in the memorandum, you require 233 members of the National Assembly. If you have to agree with him, then no big deal. But where you want to disagree with him, you require 233 members of the National Assembly to vote in that direction.
How easy is it to get that 233 members to actually marshal them to actually veto whatever the president wants?
It is very easy, but it's also very hard. It is very easy when there are issues that affect members of the National Assembly. For example, there are proposals to reduce the amount of funds that are dedicated to the National Government Constituency Development Fund, what we previously used to call CDF. When there's a proposal to reduce CDF, then that is an issue that brings members of the National Assembly together. Remember, 290 of them are elected and represent constituencies. And so when there is a reduction in the amount of money they are getting in CDF, it means there's a reduction in the amount of money they are getting for their individual constituencies. Each member of the National Assembly representing a constituency gets about 120 million shillings in CDF. So if you're going to reduce it by about 5 billion shillings, you're saying each of the MPs is going to lose about 20 million or thereabout.
But is it a fact that actually that provision is contained in the recommendations by the president? Has anyone seen the memorandum sent back to parliament by the president?
Well, there are various things that have been proposed. It's one of the things that our sources tell us that because some of these cuts, these proposed cuts are as a result of various meetings that have been held in the last week and the week before. So some of these provisions were made, some of the proposals, these are some of the proposals that were made.
Because it sounds a bit self-defeating for the president to know that if I include cuts on CDF, definitely MPs will actually marshal and veto this proposal.
Yes, it is, but also at the same time, you remember what he said on Friday, that this is an opportunity for each to lose something. The pain will be felt across the board. So you and me will have to suffer the cost of increased fuel prices by 8% because of the VAT that is being levied. So members of the National Assembly also have to lose something. The judiciary and the Directorate of Public Prosecutions are the only institutions that you can say have gained something because they're going to get some increased funding if the proposals are going to sail through so that they can be able to be facilitated in the fight against corruption. There's also the proposal to reduce the amount of money that is being given to the National Gender and Affirmative Action Fund, NGAF, that is managed by women representatives in the 47 counties. And quite a number of them have made a lot of noise about it because they're saying if you reduce this amount of money, then you're also going to reduce the number of projects that they're going to initiate. But also remember, Freddie, the issue is for members of the National Assembly, especially when funds are involved and they use these funds to go out there to the ground and use them to endear themselves to the public. The moment you make a reduction, then they are going to coalesce around. So you can imagine if 290 members of the National Assembly and 47 women representatives, that's 337 members of the National Assembly, plus the 12 who are nominated. So if there is an issue that affects cuts in the funds that they manage, then they are likely going to
You
coalesce.
seem to suggest that even the Jubilee members could defy the president
Absolutely.
on this one. But we've seen from history, whenever this members of the National Assembly are invited for these parliamentary group meetings, especially at State House, when they come out, they toe the line.
They toe the line, but circumstances have also changed. We must also bear in mind that circumstances have changed. Why? For example, in the previous periods when members of parliament were called, especially from the Jubilee, and were whipped to vote in a certain line. Remember, case in point, the amendments on election laws, the amendments on security laws, they were whipped to vote in a certain manner. And that was before the 2017 general election. Why? Because there were issues that were affecting them. And then secondly, they were also looking at the upcoming election. And by that time, the president had a lot of influence, especially in the Jubilee strongholds, on who gets elected and who doesn't get elected. Like, for example, now, especially members of parliament who are supporting Jubilee, and maybe they are coming from the Mount Kenya region, they would say the president does not necessarily have to influence how the voting patterns will be in 2022. So they can defy him.
So you're saying the president's influence on these MPs has waned to some extent? To
some extent it has. It is not like it was before the last election. The president is exiting the stage in 2022. So he's an outgoing president, so to say. So in terms of influence, how much influence would he have in the upcoming general election? That is a question I've had many members of the National Assembly ask, especially from the party that he represents. They're saying he's an outgoing president. So much as they will make a decision, they will listen to him, but they will make they will make a decision that is in their best interest and the best interest of the people that they represent.
Okay.
And of course, the public mood currently is that the 8% on fuel is not very popular.
Yes.
So, and voting is electronic in Parliament, if need be, unless they vote by acclamation.
Okay.
And because this is a matter that touches on a proposed on a memorandum by the president, if they have to disagree with him, then there must be evidence that 233 members of the National Assembly disagreed with him. So it will be very interesting for members of the public to see who voted for what.
Because this will be evident.
It will be evident. And of course, members of parliament are also looking at the upcoming elections and the public mood. You don't want to be that member of parliament who, when you go to your constituency, let's say Huisero or Kiambaa or Kiambu Town or Jomvu, and your constituents tell you, by the way, you're the one who voted for us to continue paying these increased levies. Okay. But on the other hand, Freddie, when you look at the proposals the president is making in terms of budget cuts, if you disagree with him, then it means we're also going to lose a little bit more money. Because truth be told, there's a lot of money that is going into unnecessary places. It's a question of what is important versus what is urgent.
Yes. But now, we've talked about the Jubilee Party, but NASA and its affiliates will be holding a similar parliamentary group meeting. Many of them have expressed their reservations, and perhaps they form the majority of those people who are saying no. But given the fact that there's this handshake, and Raila Odinga is going to be the one chairing this meeting, should we expect it to be that simple, that yes, they will just say no?
Maybe not. But it's also, sometimes members of parliament vote with how they see things and how those things affect them. For example, over the gender bill, you remember the gender bill in the 11th parliament, the president and the NASA leader then mobilized their members of parliament to get to the National Assembly and support that affirmative action bill, that gender principle bill. But how many went? That's how that bill failed. So it doesn't necessarily mean that if the president and the NASA leader whip the members of parliament in a certain direction, that they're going to comply. Sometimes they look at situations and make a decision on how they're going to go about it. Particularly in this matter, you can expect a lot of defiance because members of parliament have already expressed themselves on how they intend to vote and why they intend to vote so. So if you see some defiance on the floor of the House, don't be surprised. I mean, speaking to the minority leader in the National Assembly, John Badi, over the weekend in Mombasa, he was saying that where they agree with the president, they will vote with him. Where they disagree, they will mobilize themselves and even members of the Jubilee Party to vote against what the president has proposed. But
unfortunately, on this matter, when the president sends back this bill with recommendations, with that memorandum, the choices for the members are made to understand are just either to approve it or to say no. They do not have that opportunity to actually amend anything.
No. You see, the president has issued a memorandum, has brought back the Finance Bill 2018 to the National Assembly with a memorandum detailing specific reasons why he has declined to assent. So if members of the National Assembly agree with him and agree with the memorandum, or are unable to disagree with any of the issues in the memorandum, then the bill will pass as is, containing the president's amendments.
Yes.
But if members of the National Assembly disagree with any of the proposed issues in that memorandum, all they need to do, because they're going to go item by item, issue by issue, if they disagree with him on a certain matter, then all that is required for the Speaker is to put the matter to a vote. If 233 members vote to disagree with the president, then their position sails through. So the bill will now pass, or will be assented to, containing the amendments that will have been made by the National Assembly members. Okay. So the members of the National Assembly also have an opportunity to agree with the president or to disagree with the president. Where they agree with him, they'll just vote by acclamation. As many as of their opinion say aye, and they say aye.
Simple
but
majority.
where they disagree with him, then that matter will be put to a vote.
And that they will require 233 members.
They will, first of all, the Speaker will have to ascertain that there are 233 members in the National Assembly before even that matter can be put to a vote.
Well, members of Parliament, especially the National Assembly, have been speaking on this matter for this entire week. Let's listen to one of them, Janet Ongera from Kisii County.
Funds of 2 billion that you proposed, you do not touch even a shilling of CDF, and you don't also take us back on the resolution we made on VAT. Kama tumesaidia, tumesema tunasaidia kina mama, tunasaidia vijana, tunasaidia na walemavu, hiyo pesa ikiguzwa, it will affect Kenyans, because women and youth and persons with disability are the backbone that holds our society.
Janet Ongera there, the woman representative for Kisii County, giving her opinion with regard to those proposals by the president. But now, what should we expect this week? It's a special sitting. MPs have been recalled from recess. Of course, they are holding their separate parliamentary group meetings. In the afternoon, they will have a session in the House.
Yes, they will. In fact, I'm looking at the order paper for today's sitting, and I see a little bit of misunderstanding on exactly what is going to happen today. Because when I look at the order paper, unless members of Parliament can bring a motion to amend the order paper as it is today, the first thing that it says, there will be discussions on the Urban Areas and Cities Amendment Bill of 2017. There's also the Warehouse Receipt System Bill of 2017, the Health Laws Amendment Bill of 2018, and the County Government Amendment Bill of 2017. Those are issues that one would say are unrelated to the subject matter. Actually, when you look at the order paper for Thursday, this is where a lot of the issues that we are discussing now will come up for debate. For example, the Budget Committee is expected to bring a report on the whole question of the supplementary estimates. So a lot of the discussions relating to the deliberations and the amendments that the memorandum that the president has sent, that debate will largely be on Thursday for the 2 sessions, because on Thursday there will be 2 sittings in the morning from 9:30 to 12:30, and another session 2:30
to discuss the same agenda.
To discuss the same agenda. But what will be happening today is the Speaker is the person who is holding that memorandum, together with the bill that was returned to him by the president. So what the Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, will do today, this afternoon, is to first of all read to members of the National Assembly the president's memorandum.
So the fact of the matter, despite the members of the National Assembly talking a lot about what the memorandum says, they've not had a chance to actually interact with it.
It is what they are hearing. It is what the sources are saying from those series of meetings that were conducted. But the substantive issues in the memorandum that the president gave will be known today for a fact. Because the only person that you can say candidly has that memorandum is, let's say, the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Clerk of the National Assembly, and most likely the Majority Leader in the National Assembly, Aden Duale. The rest are hearing what...
And some of the things they're saying could be inaccurate.
Absolutely. Some of the things that... Even some of the proposed cuts may not necessarily be in the memorandum. And of course, I'm sure the president has had an opportunity to hear what people are saying in relation to some of the cuts. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was to make adjustments to his memorandum just to ensure that it sits well.
He pacifies
it sits well with the discussion that is currently going on. But be it as it may, That memorandum will be read out this afternoon. So we will be able to know certainly what are the proposals in the President's memorandum. Obviously, you'll expect that members of Parliament are going to raise various points of order to touch on that particular matter. Don't be surprised if any member of the National Assembly brings a motion to alter the order paper as it is today and discuss those issues substantively. But also remember, these are special sittings of the National Assembly. Why? Because the House is on recess until October 2nd.
Wow.
The standing orders dictate that if a special sitting is convened, then the only agenda that is to be discussed is the agenda contained in the notice convening that special sitting of the National Assembly.
So all that, this other agenda that you are seeing for today's...
It is part of it.
It was contained in that special
It was part of
notice.
what was gazetted by the Speaker of the National Assembly when he convened the sittings. But now, obviously, because members of the National Assembly have a sense of urgency in terms of what is being discussed currently, fuel prices, the proposed cuts, and so on and so forth.
They would want to go deep into that
They probably would want to bring forward the discussion around these issues. So don't be surprised if the order paper is altered or if there is a supplementary order paper in relation to what is happening now.
Okay, and of course, for blow-by-blow record of events as they will play out today, do stand by for our latter bulletins. And Senior Political Editor Francis Gachuri is working on that. Citizen TV will definitely update you. Thank you so much, Francis, for that.
Thank you.
At least now we get to understand exactly what to expect today up until Thursday when this matter will be debated.
Absolutely. And also, Freddie, it is also important to look at some of the cuts that are proposed and how they will impact on the whole setup in terms of the budget-making process. When there's a suggestion to reduce the amount of money that is given or that is shared by the county governments by about 9 billion shillings, then this is an issue that is likely to...
But these are just what we hear. We've not seen exactly what is contained in that memorandum.
Most definitely, some of these things, you will see them. When you have, for example, an issue touching on the Constituency Development Fund reduction, when you have a proposal to reduce the Affirmative Action Fund, those are issues that members of Parliament are likely to coalesce around. And that's probably one of the reasons why the President may be upset on the National Assembly, by the National Assembly, if they decline to listen to what he's saying. Also remember, there's also a budget cut that is being proposed on the amount of money that is given to Parliament as an institution, about 4 billion shillings. Why is it important? Because members of Parliament, I mean, are often going for various committee sittings, trips, local and abroad. And if you reduce this amount of money, and the President said this was to remove funding on issues that are not necessary, and you want to save some money on foreign travel and so on and so forth, what you call luxuries. You think our MPs are going to agree to have their luxuries reduced? And this is also where they also make an allowance.
Yes.
So,
it will be interesting to see how members of the National Assembly receive the memorandum from the President and react to the number of recommendations made by the President. Thank you so much, Francis, for that.
Thank you.
Our reporter, Sam Ogina, will be joining us soon. He is at the Orange Democratic